The morning of my wedding, I woke up to a text from my future mother-in-law. "We've taken your dress, the venue is canceled, and your fiancé knows what's best." I was shaking as I called him, but when I arrived at the ceremony, it was them who were in for a big surprise. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. My future mother-in-law, Martha, never really liked me. She acted friendly when my fiancé David was around, but when we were alone, she made it clear that she didn't think I was good enough for him. She always questioned my wedding plans. She hated my dress, wanted a different venue, and tried to push her ideas. When I didn't agree, she pouted like a child. At the time, I thought she was just an overbearing mom. But now I see it differently. I thought David was on my side. I thought he had my back, but I was about to find out I was wrong. I woke up feeling excited and ready for the big day. The one I had been planning for months. The day I was supposed to marry the man I loved. Then, my phone beeped. It was Martha. "We've taken your dress, the venue is canceled, and your fiancé knows what's best. Don't make a scene, just accept it." At first, I thought I was dreaming. I had to read the message a few times before it sank in. My heart raced as I called David, straight to voicemail. I called my maid of honor, Sarah, no answer. I called the venue, and the woman hesitated before telling me. "Oh yes, David called this morning and canceled everything. I'm so sorry." My hands were shaking. This couldn't be real. I rushed to my closet. My dress, my shoes, and veil were all gone. Panic set in. They had planned this. They waited until the last moment to do this, thinking I would be too shocked to fight back. They were wrong. I grabbed the first clothes I could find and jumped in my car. If my dress was gone, someone had to have it. I thought about going to David's house, but instead, I drove straight to Martha's. When she opened the door, I saw it in her eyes, smug satisfaction. She didn't pretend to be surprised. She just sighed, leaning against the door like I was an inconvenience. "You need to calm down," she said. "Calm down? You took my dress, canceled my wedding, and now you're telling me to calm down. Where is my dress?" I demanded. Martha didn't blink. "It's gone. You won't need it anyway. The wedding's off." I felt my blood boil. "You don't have the power to cancel my wedding. David made the call. He's doing what's best for you," she said with a smirk. I took a deep breath. "Where is he?" "Busy." I didn't scream. I didn't break anything, but I knew I wasn't going to get anything from her, so I left. But I wasn't done. Not even close. If Martha had done this, she had done something worse. I had to find out what. So I drove to the venue. Cars were pulling in, guests were arriving, and everything was set up just as I had planned. Because the wedding wasn't canceled. It just wasn't my wedding anymore. I got out of my car and walked inside. Nobody stopped me. People I knew smiled at me, unaware. I reached the entrance and stepped inside, and there she was, Rachel, in my wedding dress. The sight made my blood run cold. Rachel had been my friend, but I'd ignored the signs. She was always close to David, and I had been too naive to see what was happening. Now she was standing at the altar, wearing my dress, with my fiancé, like I had never existed. The betrayal hit me hard. David looked calm, like nothing was wrong. That's when it hit me. This wasn't last minute. This was all planned. David let me spend months planning this wedding. He let me spend thousands of dollars sending out invites while he was planning to marry someone else. He wanted me to wake up, find out my wedding was canceled, and disappear from his life like I never mattered. They thought I'd accept it. They thought I'd walk away. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I stood there frozen. Guests were laughing and chatting, unaware of what was really happening. Martha was smiling, proud of her perfect plan. Rachel was glowing, wearing my veil. David wasn't guilty. He wasn't looking for me because he knew what was going on. Something inside me snapped. I didn't cry. Instead, a calmness washed over me. They had taken everything, my dress, my venue, my fiancé, my wedding. But I wasn't gone yet. I straightened up and kept walking. People noticed me, whispers started, but no one stopped me until I reached the front row. Martha's eyes locked onto mine, and I saw fear in them. She stepped in front of me, trying to block me. "You need to leave," she hissed. I smiled. "I think I'll stay." The whispers grew louder. I saw my cousin Rebecca, her eyes wide. Then I saw Sarah, my maid of honor. She looked guilty. That hurt the most. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't in the mood for excuses. I turned back to Martha, who was still trying to act like she had control. You weren't invited, she said with a forced smile. I laughed. Really? Because last time I checked, this was my wedding. David turned and looked at me, his face blank, but his eyes full of panic. Rachel went pale. People were definitely watching now. David stepped forward, his voice calm, but practiced. Let's not do this here. I tilted my head. Oh, but you wanted to do this here, didn't you? I gestured around the venue. Since you planned this behind my back. Rachel tried to stop him, but I cut her off. You didn't steal my fiancé, didn't wear my dress, didn't let me plan my own wedding while you waited to take my place? Her mouth opened and closed. I turned back to David. How long? I asked. He didn't answer. How long have you been planning this? Still nothing. Rachel fidgeted. It just happened, she said. I laughed sharply. It just happened. So you tripped and fell into my wedding dress, into my fiancé's bed. Martha sighed. Stop making a scene. I snapped my head toward her. You planned this, didn't you? She didn't deny it. I nodded, a cold feeling spreading inside me. I was ready to be the bigger person, to marry your son and put up with you. But now, I'm going to destroy you. She flinched. Good. David finally spoke, his voice too calm. It's over. Let's just move on. Move on. I felt something snap inside me. All right, I said, pulling out my phone. Let's tell everyone what's really going on. I hit play. Martha's voice blasted through the speakers. We've taken your dress, the venue is canceled, and your fiancé knows what's best. Gasps filled the room. Then David's voice. Babe, I'm sorry, but my mom is right. You're just not good enough. Rachel is better suited for me. The room went silent. You could hear a glass shatter. Rachel stepped away from David, horrified. Martha's face went white, and David looked like he was going to throw up. I let the silence settle before leaning in and looking Rachel straight in the eye. Still want him. She bolted. Martha turned to David. You told her that? David was frozen, like he couldn't believe how badly this was going. I pulled out another paper. You know what else I have? I said, unfolding it. The wedding bill. Martha's eyes widened. What? David and I signed financial agreements before the wedding. He owes me for everything, I said. $35,000. I read from the paper. David's face drained of color. That's not. It's in writing, signed, legal. I smiled. And if you don't pay? I leaned in. Well, you know I love a good public scandal. Martha looked like she might faint. David stammered, You can't. Oh, I can. I turned to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show because it's not over yet. David looked trapped. Martha was opening and closing her mouth, but no sound came out. The guests were shocked, and some were recording everything. Rachel was gone, thank goodness, but Sarah, my so-called best friend, was still standing there, frozen with guilt. I wasn't done. David had taken everything from me. His mother made sure of it. They wanted me too embarrassed to fight back, but they had underestimated me. Now I was going to ruin them. Just as Martha was about to speak, probably with some excuse, the door opened. A man in a sharp suit walked in, briefcase in hand. Apologies for the interruption, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. David's face went pale because this was my lawyer. Miss, my lawyer nodded at me. Everything is in order. I smiled. Perfect timing. Martha grabbed David's arm like she was holding him up, afraid he would collapse. You got a lawyer? She spat. I turned to her. Of course I did. You and your son stole my wedding, my money, and my time. You think I wouldn't get legal backup? Guests gasped, and some whispered loudly. David finally found his voice. This is ridiculous. My lawyer didn't even look at him. Ahem, according to the financial agreement signed before this event, David, you are legally bound to cover all wedding expenses. David choked on air. $335,000, my lawyer continued. Non-negotiable. Martha lost it. This is a scam, she screamed. The lawyer didn't flinch. No, ma'am, it's legally binding. You planned this wedding and swapped out the bride last minute. That means your son now owns the bill. David turned pale. You have until the end of the day, my lawyer added, before we take legal action. A waiter coughed to hide a laugh. Someone muttered, Holy sh**, and then another voice spoke up. Wait, Sarah? I turned to Sarah. Her voice shook. I wasn't sure I even wanted to hear what she had to say, but she looked broken. She took a deep breath. I knew. Gasps filled the room. David's head snapped toward her. Sarah, shut up. She shook her head wildly. No, I can't. I can't keep lying. Tears welled in her eyes. Martha told me weeks ago. She said they were planning to replace you. She said you weren't the right kind of wife for David. I felt sick. My best friend had known. Sarah wiped her eyes. I wanted to tell you. I really did, but Martha threatened me. She said if I warned you, she'd ruin me. She'd make sure I lost my job. I blinked. Your job. More murmurs from the guests. Sarah looked down, ashamed. Martha owns the firm I work at, she said. She said she'd fire me if I told you. Martha crossed her arms. And I would have, she said coldly. The crowd booed. Someone yelled, Are you serious? Sarah looked at me, desperate. I'm sorry. I should have told you. I was weak. I held up a hand, signaling I needed a moment to process. I turned to David and Martha. You really threatened my best friend's job just to get rid of me. Martha rolled her eyes. It's called handling problems. I exhaled sharply. Unbelievable. But Sarah wasn't done. She turned to David, hands shaking. Tell her the rest. David froze. Martha spun on her. Sarah, don't you dare. Sarah's voice rose. Tell her the rest, David. Silence. Dead silence. I watched David's face crumble. I knew then it was worse than I thought. I stepped forward. David. He wouldn't look at me. Tell me. David swallowed hard, his hands clenched, his jaw locked. Then he finally muttered, Rachel's pregnant. The room exploded. I staggered back. Pregnant? Pregnant? People gasped, whispered, and cursed. Rachel had been my friend. She stole my fiancé, wore my dress, tried to take my wedding. And now she was having his baby, and I was supposed to just disappear. David had the nerve to look sorry, like an apology would fix this. I looked at Martha. So that's what this was about. That's why you wanted me gone. She shrugged like it was obvious. Rachel is giving my son an heir. An heir? Like we were in some royal family? I left. Actually left. David winced. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I held up a hand. Don't. Just don't. I turned to the guests. Everyone, let's give a big round of applause to David and Rachel, who are expecting a child after stabbing me in the back. Someone actually clapped. A woman in the back muttered, I need more popcorn. David looked miserable. Martha was seething. I was done. I turned to my lawyer. Are we good? He nodded. I'll handle the rest. Perfect. I smoothed down my suit, then I walked out. I had one more move to make, and this was just the beginning. I should have left. I wanted to leave, but something told me I wasn't finished yet. Because after everything, the stolen wedding, the lies, the betrayal, there was still something missing, and I needed to know exactly what it was. I turned back to David, who was rubbing his temples like all of this was giving him a headache, like I was just a problem to deal with. Martha was muttering under her breath, shooting Sarah a death glare, probably wishing she could burn her with her mind. The guests were eating this up. Some had their hands over their mouths in shock. Others had their phones out, recording. Then Rachel came back in. She looked furious, not guilty, not embarrassed. Furious. You just had to ruin everything, she snapped at me, marching straight down the aisle in my dress, like she still belonged there. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I ruin your big day? She crossed her arms, breathing hard. You weren't supposed to find out like this, she hissed. I stared at her, stunned for a moment. Then I laughed. Actually laughed. You're unbelievable, I said. What part of this did you think I wouldn't find out? The part where you stole my fiancé? The part where you wore my dress? Or the part where you're pregnant with his baby? She flinched, and I knew then that wasn't supposed to come out. David groaned. Rachel, stop talking. I pounced. What else is there, Rachel? I pressed. You might as well spill it all now. She looked away. Martha stepped forward, panicked. Rachel, don't you dare. Too late. Rachel snapped. You think I'm the bad guy, she spat. Do you have any idea what I was promised? The room went silent. David's head jerked up. Rachel, shut up. But she was done keeping secrets. They told me I'd have a perfect life, she said, eyes burning. That David would marry me, that we'd be this perfect couple, that I'd be the new face of their family. I felt my stomach drop. Martha had planned this long before today. She had picked Rachel like a replacement doll. And David had gone along with it. Rachel's voice wobbled. But now I see the truth. I was never going to be the wife. I was just a way to get rid of you. And once the baby's here, she turned on Martha, eyes narrowing. You were going to push me out too, weren't you? Martha's face tightened. Don't be ridiculous. Rachel shook her head. Oh my God, you were, weren't you? That's why you kept saying the baby was the only thing that mattered. David stiffened. Rachel, let's talk about this later. But she was spiraling. You lied to me, she whispered, staring at him. You said you loved me. Martha scoffed. Love doesn't matter, Rachel. A strong family matters. That was it. Rachel lost it. She yanked off the veil, threw it at Martha's feet, and laughed bitterly. I was just another pawn, she said, voice cracking. Just like her. She pointed at me, and suddenly, it hit me. Rachel wasn't my replacement. Rachel and I had been the same. She had fallen for it too. The only difference, I got out before it was too late. Rachel wiped her eyes, turned without another word, and walked out. David called after her. Rachel, wait. She didn't. Martha snapped. This is your fault. She pointed at me. I blinked. My fault. She jabbed a finger at my chest. If you had just left quietly, none of this would have happened. I shook my head. You really don't get it, do you? David didn't love me, and guess what? He doesn't love Rachel either. You've controlled his life, and now you've ruined it. David clenched his jaw. Martha turned to him. Say something, she demanded. David just stood there, silent, pathetic. A man who had finally realized he had lost everything. I could have said something brutal to finish him off, but he wasn't worth it. None of them were. So I stepped back. I turned to my lawyer. Let him go. He nodded. We'll send the final paperwork later. I walked down the aisle, the one I was supposed to walk down, in a white dress, past the stunned guests, past the whispers, past Martha shaking with rage. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. David tried to contact me, of course. The messages were pathetic. Can we talk? I made a mistake. I just need a chance to explain. I never answered. Rachel disappeared. She moved away. No one knew where she went. Martha? Well, she lost everything. David never recovered from the scandal. His business deals fell apart. People stopped trusting him. When Martha's reputation began to tank, she turned on David. I heard she moved away to start fresh without him. Karma did all the work for me. And me? I thrived. I moved to a new city, found a real job, made real friends, and I stopped looking back. Because the truth is, I won. Not because I got revenge, not because I embarrassed them, but because I walked away, because I found a life so much better than the one they tried to trap me in. And now when I think about that day, the betrayal and the disaster, I don't feel anything at all. And that's the best revenge of all.